Thank you all for being here today. Hello, this is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pau. I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and H.E.R Network channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app store while you download it. Please make sure that you rate it, you leave a comment. We like to hear from you. The app is totally free. You can find Zingo TV app, in Google Chromecast, I'm sorry, Amazon Fire, TV, TV sticks. Here we go again. Let me start all over again. You can find Single TV on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks again. Here we go. Roku sticks, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you all for being here. And let me welcome this beautiful soul. She is Dr. Michelle Odette Green. She is an entrepreneur, she is an author, she's a speaker and facilitator. She has achieved extraordinary results in her life from running her own business, achieving multiple degrees in running marathons. So thank you for being here, Dr. Michelle.
You are quite welcome. I'm excited and I'm grateful to be with you today and your audience as well.
Thank you. So please share a little bit about you so our audience get to know you more.
Wow, with that great introduction, I think you've told them all they need to know. I will add to that I am a mother, a wife, and a grandmother. I'm also a neural encoding specialist as well as a brain health trainer and the author of the book Be Successful for Life, Elevate Your Thoughts, Words, Actions, and Results. And I have other certifications in goal setting, emotional intelligence, leadership, communication, just to name a few. So that's a little bit more about myself.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here.
You're
Please
welcome.
share with the audience, like what moved you and what have moved you to become successful in your business, in your family, like as an author, as a facilitator, as a speaker, like what drives you? What's that fire?
You know, from an early age, I found myself being an entrepreneur. When I was in elementary school, they had what is known in my neighborhood as candy stores. And I remember around age 9, I wanted to have my own candy store. So my parents supported me in that endeavor. I started a little store where the kids could come up to my window during the day and they could buy candy, they could buy ice cream, potato chips, things of that nature. And then I found myself also being good with styling hair. So I was a braider, and when I was in elementary school, the adults used to call on me to braid their hair and they would pay me. And I would be like, wow, this is great. So I've always had that bug to be an entrepreneur. My grandfather, he owned his own store as well as he was a logger. He was a logger, meaning that he actually had land and he would let people come on his land and get timber. So he sold timber. So I think it's just kind of in my blood. And of course, my mother, she's everything. She has been an entrepreneur for years, although she also worked a government job and she retired from a government job, which I did the same thing. So I just think I'm following in her footsteps. And so I've just been just that one that I feel like I never wanted to rely on other people for me to be successful. I felt like I had to take 100% responsibility for my life, and that meant that I had to take care of myself. I saw people in my community. I grew up in the city of Compton, and in my community, people did work, and we had a lot of people that relied on the welfare system. And I just didn't want to be one of those individuals that relied on the welfare system. I'm not saying that anything is wrong with it when you need it, because there are cases when someone would need it. I just saw that that's not the lifestyle that I wanted to pursue. So I just took 100% responsibility for my life, got my education, and worked. And here I am today. And I'm very pleased to say that I'm still working, still developing, still growing, because I plan on living many years. So I still have many years to fulfill more dreams and goals that I have.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. Yes, because at an early age you observe and
I did.
and you decided what you wanted and what you didn't want, and you went for you went after what you wanted. So that's awesome. And then you have a mom, a role model,
Yes,
your mom
absolutely.
and your grandfather. So that's lovely.
Yes.
That is lovely. Yes. Uh, this is her book, Be Successful for Life. So
Yes. I think I have one of those somewhere around. I thought I did. Yes, thank you.
you're welcome. What has been the biggest lesson in writing this book?
Oh, wow. So many lessons I could state. The biggest one is that I wanted to make sure that I had information that individuals could readily apply to their life. And I have found that in my struggles, I can go to my book and my book helps me overcome. I can't say that that's a big struggle to overcome, but the point that I really want to make with that is that I'm so grateful that I was able to put information in the book that could help individuals if they're stuck to get unstuck. And in writing the book, I will say I had to go to the drawing board over and over and over because when I would write on one subject, I would find, oh, I need to write on this other subject because I felt like one subject needed to complement the other subject to get the point. And so it did take me much longer than I anticipated. I ended up taking, almost a year to really get the book done. And so just having to mark out time to write it because it takes time and then you have to go through the editing process. And overall, if I had to say something that I overcame while writing the book, it's just not getting weary because it was taking longer than I anticipated.
Okay, awesome. And before we move on with the content of the book, if you don't mind, I want to dedicate this interview to all of our audience out there that might feel stuck. It could be a stuck in their marriage. It could be they might feel stuck, in their professional life. They might feel stuck in a goal that they thought they should be farther ahead and they haven't achieved that goal. It could be in
Yes.
their parenting hood. It could be in your personal life, whatever you're dealing with. If you feel stuck, like I personally want to dedicate this TV show episode for you because we all have been there. And one like right at the beginning of her book, Dr. Michelle says, even when it is not fully attained, we become better by striving for a higher goal by
Yes.
Viktor Frankl. It's like even if we are one quarter of the way, and if we feel like we should have accomplished that goal by now, know that you already became better because you
Yes.
walked that quarter.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, and give
Don't feel
yourself some grace. Yeah, because
yes.
I I see people that feel stuck, and then because they're stuck, they think it wasn't worth it.
Yes, that is true.
And they don't see the beauty of you know the growth and what they the learning that they went through, and they feel it wasn't worth it. So we all been there, we all feel stuck, and this interview, this conversation is bringing the tools and strategies that you can get go ahead and give the next step so that you can continue to move forward. So yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, right. We all been stuck. So how can we take advantage of the power of thoughts when we're feeling stuck?
Woo wee. So interesting. So with our thoughts, we are creating, and thoughts cause you to put things into perspective. Either it's negative or it's positive. And when you have, let's say, constructive thoughts, that helps you to move away from destructive thoughts so that you can empower yourself to move forward. And in your just with your mindset, we have our mentor who says, as you think, so you feel, as you
Yes.
feel, so you do, as you do, so you have. So just the power of your thoughts can get you unstuck. Just if you are phrasing them in the positive perspective, it can help turn the and I just have to, I want to say, most times when you're stuck, you don't have clarity. Your focus is just kind of off. And so when you have more positive thoughts, it helps you to be more empowered. And so bottom line to that is that we assign meaning to things through our thoughts. And if you step back, gain clarity, pat yourself on the back for recognizing that, okay, I'm aware that I'm stuck. And now that I'm aware, then I can do something about it. So hopefully that answers your question. You can ask me again, but hopefully that answered that question.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's like the power of thoughts create our experience, through the thought, the emotion, the action, and what we express, it create our experience. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like our thoughts matter. And
Yes.
like you said, is like be aware of those beautiful thoughts that we allow to stay in our head every single day. uh, you mentioned awareness, mindfulness. You mentioned another word, and I can remember. You just said it. But sometimes we just have to clarity. Like gain clarity. That's what Dr. Michelle said. Is like if you feel stuck, it's like okay, let me just breathe for a little bit, and it's like find the clarity so that you know where you're going. And
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
And sometimes we live in the past. We allow, like sometimes are the same thoughts that
Hmm.
we have had for years that stopped us. Oh, I knew
Yep.
I wasn't good enough. Oh, I've always heard that I wasn't fast enough. And sometimes we allow those old thoughts to creep in, and that begins the confusion of us to like why not to continue to move forward towards any of our goals. And I believe that sometimes we allow those negative thoughts to stop us. And
Yep.
then fear, like we were said, the thought allows, it hijacks our biochemistry, and you talk about it in your book. It
Yes.
hijacks
Yeah.
our our state of being, and we have to learn to be clever. And I think the world needs so much education and awareness of how a thought hijacks your biochemistry in a good way and also in a bad way.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so we have the power of unstucking our state just by the power of thought.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's be aware and mindful of what thoughts we're allowing to have in our thought in our heads. So we have about what? How many? 70,000, 60,000 thoughts a day?
Absolutely, yes. And there a lot of them are just automatic thoughts that come into our head, like you said, from past experiences, of course, from things that we hear and things that we see. And so we do have to be mindful about our thoughts from moment to moment, because those thoughts will have an impact on us. And whether we like it or not, we have stuff coming at us left and right all day long. And so with that in mind, being aware, you can, when things come in that are not so positive, you can self-regulate so that you don't let that affect you.
Yeah. Sometimes other people's opinion, don't you think,
Mhm.
interfere and make us
It,
feel stuck because then it brings the self-doubt,
that is
you
true.
know?
And that's where self-confidence comes into play. Having a strong foundation of self-confidence, that you, not that you know everything, because you want to keep a growth mindset and keep your mind open so that you can continue to learn, because sometimes people do present you with information that is better than what you know, or
Yeah.
information that can help you move further. And so you do want to stay open minded. At the same time, you want to have enough self confidence to know that just because someone presented something to you does not mean that, number one, A, that's who you are, or number two, you have to follow what that person has said. And then number three, it's always good to get curious. And, you hear what they say, get curious, investigate a little bit more. And if it's something that you think that will help you in your life or someone else that you know, then you absorb the information.
Yes, yes. Is it true? Ask
Yes,
yourself, is it true before you adopt it? Sometimes we just automatically adopt it and we believe it. And in reality is like it's stopping you from continuing to go after your goal. So
exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
listen to your inner self that it's wiser.
Exactly.
Yes. And now let's talk about constructive language. You
Yes.
educate us in your book about constructive language influences our thoughts. So how can
Yeah.
we help our audience understand that language can help them, move towards that turbulence that they might be experiencing right now, and they feel like they should be farther ahead but they're not, and they're having second thoughts about, is this is truly what I should be doing, is this is my path? And I'm talking from the bottom of my heart. I know there is a lot of people out there experiencing this right now, that they think they should be farther ahead, that what they're doing is not working. How can we help them build that constructive language?
So, of course, constructive language, and let's also frame it as positive language, if you will. And constructive or positive language influences our thoughts because it helps filter out destructive thoughts again. And by you filtering out those destructive thoughts, I should say, it allows you to empower yourself more, if you will. That's the best way I know how to say that. And then, as you know, we are creating heaven or hell in our minds based on our thoughts. And so it's imperative that it, that you understand when you have a destructive thought, that you have the ability to cancel that thought out and replace that thought with a more constructive thought. And just the words that you speak aids in that. And so here's one method that I like to use when I hear of course, I'm in my head when I hear my thoughts, right? We hear our thoughts, whether we think it or not, we hear our thoughts. So, at any rate, when I'm thinking something that's negative or something that's unresourceful, I cancel it, cancel it, cancel it, cancel it. And then what I like to do is to overlay that with at least three positive thoughts or three constructive thoughts to help move myself back forward. And I know that you know about this technique, the stop technique. I have had to implement that in my life more now than ever. And so when I find myself unresourceful, and I invite our audience to do this as well, when you find yourself unresourceful and you don't have constructive thoughts, that you stop yourself, you stand up, you smile, you shake it out, and you think of something that's
Please stop.
positive and more
Yeah,
resourceful, and then you celebrate yourself. And so I've
yeah,
utilized that over and over and over. At first, I thought, oh, this is so corny. It works,
it
people. I'm
works.
telling you, it really, really works. And so, just knowing that you have that tool handy when your thoughts are not as constructive, then you can employ that to get you back on track and get you to reframe, how you're feeling.
Yes, because with our thoughts, and our words, we create our own reality.
Yes, we do.
So if our home state, like if for years if for years we were living like the victim, if for years we might live in an anger state most of the time, I mean, that's how we're going to continue to live in that state. Like if every time everything comes into our lives, we are always seeking for what's wrong, because that's just
Mm.
our instinct. Because it's a taught behavior. You know, it worked for us somehow 10 years ago, right, Dr. Michelle?
Right.
And
Right.
we adopted it, and we think it continues to serve us. But now that we're older and we know better, like from my experience, I have learned to rewire my behavior, creating a better reality with my thoughts, my words. And like Dr. Michelle was explaining, there is times that I might get, I thought from my childhood, which comes with an emotion, and it could be a bitter one, it could be a sad one. And if I listen to it, and if I follow that type behavior from 10, 15, 20 years ago,
Mm.
uh, I might snap faster, or, I might yell. But if I know it's not serving me anymore, because I don't want that emotional home, because I know it's not taking me farther as a mom, as a wife, in the workplace, you know, then that's whenever this strategy works. Whenever we say, okay, stop,
Yes.
and you you hijack your biochemistry by, it's like, okay, stop, it's like, that's not serving me anymore,
Hmm.
and then you reach for the constructive language, the constructive thought, and then you celebrate yourself because you overcame that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you might, and at the beginning it might be hard, right, Dr. Michelle?
Yes. Yes. And so I do want to say it can be hard. The key is to celebrate the process, celebrate you doing that process. And when you celebrate that process, you, it's going to come automatically where you default to that state when you find yourself resourceful. And you just think about it as when you first learned how to ride a bike. You just didn't get on that bike and start riding. Most of us started out with training wheels, and then when the training wheels came off, we still couldn't ride the bike fluently. And over time we could. And even today, if you haven't rode a bike in years, you could still get back on that bike and ride that bike. So it was programmed into your nervous system where you know how to do it. So your body has muscle memory as well. And so once you really get that down, when you find yourself in, again, a state where you need to pull yourself out of it, using that technique or any technique that will pull you out of it, it just comes automatically. You default to it.
Yes. And affirmations is where here comes very handy, right? Those
Yes.
constructive words, the phrase that use for the phrase that you can associate to, like, I'm going to a better, happier emotional state. So what's the phrase or phrases that you can implement with that constructive language that
Yes.
you're associating your nervous system to default into your best behavior, your best new version of you, instead
Yes.
of yelling, could be like, okay, maybe smiling. Baby steps. Maybe instead of snapping, could be like, okay, just, it's baby steps until you continue to your reprogram. We're reprogramming our nervous system from reacting to an old uh, behavior to the
Hmm.
better one, to a better one, to a more positive one. Especially, I'm picturing as a mom, I'm picturing as a wife, I'm picturing, in the workplace, that we all need, to be mindful and analyze. Okay, what is my emotional home? What are those thoughts? That language are creating this emotions, because they create our own reality. So our reality could be amazing if we let our imagination take place, right?
Exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
but we really have to be. I mean, I admire you, Dr. Michelle, because you've been through a lot in your life. You lost
I have.
you lost one of your babies, and and
Yes.
and only you understand,
Mhm.
because uh I haven't been through that, but like you have, you have a beautiful smile, you have, like you have a beautiful soul, and you have learned, I'm no one to share here about reprogramming your nervous system. My stuff is silly compared to yours, but it's like you have, and you're trying to help others to do the same.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, yes. No, thank you for being here and sharing with us, because we all need it. It's baby steps, because we have traumas from the past. Uh,
We do.
and sometimes they come back unexpectedly, and we have to be mindful of how to deal with them.
Yes, I just put an article on my website, Success in Action Institute, about how to overcome childhood trauma. So it's a quick read, but it gives some tips on how you can use journaling to overcome, issues that you've dealt with in your childhood. So
Okay,
I
good.
encourage you guys to take a look at it.
Yes, what's your website?
It is Success in Action Institute.com.
Okay.
So I can send you that information.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. We'll share with our audience. So thank you.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so on your book, you also share, uh, you talk about beliefs in our subconscious. So, how
Mhm.
do our beliefs and our subconscious play a role in our level of success?
Okay, so we are programmed when we start being programmed when we are in our mother's womb, whether you believe it or not. And I can get a little bit deeper than that, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to stick with that right now. And so there is this imprinting period from say 0 to 7 where we're like sponges and we're just soaking in everything around us. And during that time, our beliefs are being formed. There are other periods as far as your beliefs being formed that take place. And that 0 to 7 period, I should say, is the most critical period. And so I even tell my kids right now, watch what you're telling your kids or you're showing your kids, meaning my grandkids, because they're absorbing all of that information. And so with the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, that means that that's below awareness. You have developed beliefs that are below awareness that you are not even conscious of. You don't know that you've been programmed. And so when you get older, you can find yourself either not being successful or being successful because of the way that you were programmed. So let's just take it from an unsuccessful person. So, and let's put it on money. Money is an easy area that we can put it on. You could have grown up in a household where the belief was that you guys were poor. You were poor, you didn't have much, and you heard statements from your parents, well, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. Or you ask them for money and they'll tell you, well, no, money doesn't grow on trees and I don't have any money. And, you can get these limiting beliefs around money. So when you're older, you've adopted that belief where it's hard to make money or, and this is where I found where people were really relying on government assistance because their belief was that that's how they got money. They didn't go out and get money through working, but they got money from the government. And then just keeping with that scenario, as you're older, you're trying to figure out, how to make money, how to get money, how to keep money. Even I used to hear in my household, my dad, that money just burned a hole through his pocket. Every time he got some money, he just spent it. And so you're hearing all this stuff. And when you're older and you start having money challenges, you're not understanding really why you're having money challenges, but you're having these money challenges, but it was how you were programmed when you were younger. And so that's how your beliefs will affect if you're successful or if you're not successful. So we flip that on its head. And now you're in a household to where money is abundant, that money is easy to come by. You see your parents, they're doing resourceful things to generate finances for your household. And you see that. And as a result of seeing that, then when you grow older, your belief is money is abundant. I can generate finances for myself. And you become resourceful. And therefore, you have money, you know how to handle money, and your life is rich in that area. So bottom lining that is that our beliefs will affect our success one way or another. And the good news is that once you are aware of this, then you have the ability to change your beliefs so that you can do more, be more, and have more.
Beautiful. How can someone, like, for any of our audiences, like, okay, well, wait a minute. So how can they change their belief? How can they begin to reprogram that subconscious mind?
So it is a concerted effort. It's not for the faint at heart. You have to really be committed to the process. And so just take the money belief. The way that you do that, and this is on an ongoing basis until you have evidence in your life that you have rewired your mindset and you've changed that belief. So you can take a piece of paper or you can write in your journal, and you want to do it in a column. So you make two columns. One would be what the limiting belief was or is, what you heard in your household, what you think about money, and what's stopping you from attaining money, if you will. And then once you have that limiting belief, then on the other side of the paper, you want to write the belief that you desire or what you desire. And so from there, you want to start, like you talked about affirmations.
Hmm.
You want to develop affirmations centered around the beliefs that you desire. And you want to start reprogramming yourself. And you do exercises without getting into the specific exercises because we can be here all day long for that. But I will say is that with the affirmations, repeating them, being excited about it, getting it wired into your nervous system will help you program your reticular activating system so that you can see. And when I say see, meaning that you'll readily be able to see opportunities, hear about opportunities, things will just come to the forefront and it makes it easier. And so let me give you an example of, if you have the mindset that money is scarce, that it's hard to come by money, and that's your belief on one side of the paper, you would say money is scarce. And then the belief that you want to have is that money is abundant, that money can flow to me easily and effortlessly. So you can put that in an affirmation. And that's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on the positive and wire yourself for the positive. So that's an example. And you can add to that, or if you want me to keep going, just let me know.
Yeah, awesome. Yes. And it goes back to what we're talking about. Your thoughts create your emotions create your actions, which create your reality.
Yes.
So here go back to money grows. And what did your dad used to say? He said, there is hole in my pockets.
Yeah, money burns a hole in his pocket. Because when he would get money, he would spend it so quick. It was
Yeah.
like, he just wastes money. And so that was
Yeah.
something that was commonly said in my household.
Yeah. So here we go. The power of words that you were talking about, right? So
Yes.
that making him think, like, I have the money probably. And it's just an example for all of us to be aware of our thoughts, our words, because we create our own experience, our own reality. So by reprogramming ourselves, from our
Yeah.
old our old thoughts, creating a better one, what serves us.
Yeah. So here is an affirmation that I've adopted. And I tell you, it's amazing to me how money does flow to me from sources known and unknown. So I typically will say, and I say this often, maybe several times a day, and every day for the most part, that I'm a money magnet. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly from known and unknown sources in ever increasing quantities on a continuous basis. And it just flows to me.
Close to you, yeah. So, and your brain is always listening. That's one of the phrases I use a lot in because now I'm working with high school students, and you sometimes they tell themselves things that are not nice, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And I'm like, your brain is always listening. It's like, stop telling yourself that you're not smart enough.
Yes.
Like,
And on that note, with you saying that, add the question, if someone said that to you, how would you feel about it? So the things that we tell ourselves, if someone actually said that to us, we would get upset. We would be
yeah,
upset with them. So we need to apply that to ourselves and know that's not nice. We're not speaking nice to ourselves.
yeah.
So like you talked about giving ourselves grace, we have to be gentle and care for ourselves. So the way that we would speak nice to someone else is the way we should speak to ourselves.
Yes. So this brings to me, like, anybody out there that feels stuck. What are those thoughts that you have been keeping in your head? What are
Yes.
those beliefs that maybe you're saying from your childhood? Be aware, be mindful of what are those thoughts that you are you're welcoming and keeping around in your head, and then analyze maybe why you're stuck. Sometimes we adopt different. We have to overcome so much
Mhm.
in I mean, like marriage, for once. Like, I grew up in a Hispanic family, and I remember that I remember I didn't have. There were very few happy families, very few happy families. And I remember, when I got married, I was in love, but then things become too, shaky. So I had to recreate my own reality. Whereas, like, I knew I didn't have multiple examples of a happy family. So, like, that's just an example of how we have to remove those limiting beliefs, that we adopted, to create a better reality for ourselves. So that's one of the limiting beliefs that I can say. I'm blessed, very very blessed, to be able to mold it to a
Yeah.
better one, so
Yeah. And can I add to that, since you did mention about the stuck again? I think a good exercise to do is a clarity exercise in terms of getting you unstuck. And basically, is again just getting clear on what you really want and understanding what's holding you back. So you want to think about, okay, I say that I'm stuck, and here is what I want. So now what's really holding me back? What are the obstacles that I have in my mind, or the barriers that I have in my mind that's holding me back? And now what can I do to overcome those barriers? So come up with strategies to overcome those barriers, because once you take the first step, then the next step is going to unfold. And it's just like climbing a staircase. You take the first step, then you're able to take the next step, and so on and so forth. So I have found, when I've gotten stuck, once I take that next step, get clear on what I want, and look at, okay, what's like, sometimes we're just in our own way because we think that it's hard to do what it is that we want to do. And typically when we go ahead and do it, then we figure out, oh, that wasn't so bad. That was much easier. I wish I would have done that a long time ago. And so what happens is that we're so in our head, we're stuck in our head. But once you can get it on paper, get clear about what you want, and then identify what's holding you back, then it makes it easier for you to start moving again.
Thank you. Yes, always ask, well, what, yeah, what do you want? That's the magic question. It's like, well, what do
Yes,
you really want?
right.
And sometimes we're like, yeah, hang on. No, what do you really want? What do you want? Oh,
Yes.
so yes, thank you for that awareness. Yeah, that's a beautiful question. We should all ask ourselves, well, what do you want? So
What do you
yes,
want? Yes.
yes, thank you. So how the power of thoughts influence our decisions we make in our, like every day, which I know you kind of cover already a lot of it.
Yes. So I will add to, you really have to be conscientious and self aware, because, with again, all of the negativity that we're bombarded with, we can easily get off track. So being super aware, I would say. And so when you're super aware of your thoughts on a daily basis, from moment to moment, you can regulate yourself. You're checking in with yourself to see how you're feeling, where you are. I believe in this frequency, and I have in my book a frequency scale. Whereas if you are checking in with your thoughts, because your thoughts will generate how you feel, then you know where you are as far as your feeling level, where you are on the frequency scale. Are you on a low frequency, or are you on a high frequency? And then when you notice that you're feeling either angry for some reason, you got triggered for some reason, and you recognize, I'm angry, and you can stop and you can address that, then as far as helping you get in a positive state, it takes a moment. You have to build up to it. But at least if you are conscientious about your thoughts, and it's so, so important, because I can't stress it enough. This world will program you. You got so much coming at you. You're being programmed and you don't even know you're being programmed. So if you don't practice that self-awareness as far as your thoughts are concerned, you can just get swept in. So it's so important to pay attention to your thoughts on a moment by moment basis. I remember I was getting triggered so much some years ago, and I felt like this is not healthy, and I need to work on really being more mindful in terms of how I respond to people. But I found myself more reactive, if you will. So they would come at me, my thought pattern would be reactive, and I would just be reacting. And so once I really became super aware of what was happening with me, then I went on this quest to gain control over my thoughts moment to moment. And I remember telling someone, they were asking me about it, and I said, you know what? I work moment to moment, because things can shift just that quick. So it's very important that you stay aware of how you're thinking and how you're feeling.
Yes, and like you said, we have that memory muscle that we have behaved and reacted that way for so many years. That's all we know. So in order for us to continue to switch that, instead of reacting, like consciously acting on it, is going to take some time. So give yourself grace, as long as you begin to be aware of it at first. Oh, I should have not reacted. Like, oh, I reacted on that situation. It's like I should have, done, I could have done it better. So then that's kind of like our first step of being aware. Then the second
Yes.
step is like trying, maybe like being quiet instead of reacting, but it's baby steps, because our brain has been programmed already. So sometimes it tells you, hey, you haven't got mad yet, and it's been 3 hours. And it's time, we have this yeah, it's like the adrenaline, like
Yes.
it's like it's still over here. We haven't released any adrenaline, so it's time for it. Sometimes our brain is looking for any triggers out there to
Right.
release. right?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So be aware that yes, we can hijack our beautiful nervous system in a good way, but also in a negative way if it's been programmed like that. And if it's been programmed like that, give yourself grace. It happened
Yes.
because you were trying to protect yourself and you thought that that vehicle was the best. It could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be, any other emotions that are not serving you. So
Yeah.
yes, awareness. We have only 5 minutes left.
Dude, we can talk
And
for hours.
yes, yes, you're gonna have to come back. Uh,
Okay.
r- really quick, how can we do a reality check to check our progress? Like, 'cause sometimes we're very hard with ourselves. So we're like, instead of building us up, we're tearing us apart. It's like, oh, you should have been smarter. You should have done this. I should have done that. What is a more intelligent way that can help us to move forward whenever we do a progress report on how we're doing on our goal?
So, well, okay. So let me answer this in two ways. The first way is when you have set a goal, you always want to create a measurement tool so that you can see the evidence that you're progressing. Because if you don't know where you're going, you won't know when you get there. So you have to have some type of check-in process, be it if you do a calendar and you have the information on your calendar and you accomplish it, you check it off, or if you have it on a formal goal setting form, if you will. So let me put that over there. Then the next thing I will say, in terms of not beating yourself up, you want to make a list of all your accomplishments, things that you've completed in the past. And so when you find yourself beating yourself up, you can go back to that list and say, no, I've been able to accomplish this, that, and the other. And you use the process for accomplishing that. So then you
Yes.
take that process that you use and you apply it to the goal that you are seeking to gain or attain. And so the process is real simple. You want to make sure that everything is written, because keeping it up here does us no justice, if you will. See, my braces are getting in the way now. It does it no justice. So in the interest of time, I'll just leave it at that. And so hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, yes, and I promise you, you're coming back. Thank you, Annette, for being here with us. So please let us know, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Michelle Odette. I'm also on Facebook as Michelle Odette Green. I do have a website, successinactioninstitute.com. And so those are a few of the places you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm not active on LinkedIn. So that's my next goal, to get
Okay.
active on LinkedIn. So those are, again, a few of the places you can find me.
Thank you. So remember that even when it is not fully attained, we become better by striving for a higher goal. So this was kind of like the biggest message for today for any people that are feeling unstuck. Please give yourself grace and look back and see, oh, how much you've gone, accomplished already through your life. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Michelle Odette. You're coming back because we didn't finish all of our topics for today. For all of you, thank you for being here listening to us. I hope you found an aha moment, a word, a phrase, something that you can adopt into your life to just create a brighter future. Remember that you give power to your talents, you give life to your dreams. So thank you all so much. If you enjoyed the interview, if you want to watch the recording, you can go to my YouTube channel, Paola Guthrie. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check, spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you all so much for being here, and blessings.
Yes. Mwah.